This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Hello, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we're your hosts. I'm Alexis.
I'm Grace.
And we are starting to wind down our Inspector Gadget arc already, which is crazy because Grace is going to tell us her last episode of this wild and kooky Inspector Gadget arc that we've been on.
Yeah, it feels wild to be done already.
Yeah, I think it's because we've been going hard with recording. For those who are new, yes, exactly. We pre-record all of our episodes and we do them in batches. So it's like this is our only third day. Exactly. Like this is our only our third day together talking about Inspector Gadget because we've just batched them all together that way.
And so now it's like for everyone else.
Exactly. So sad that it's almost over. But Grace, I'm sure that you will tell us a wonderful episode today to bring it on home, your half of the arc, and can't wait to hear it.
Yes, there's some extra goodies in this episode.
Nice.
Kind of specifically for you that I put in here.
Oh, so, for me, moi? With this French show?
With this French show.
Yes.
And you'll figure it out pretty soon when I eventually say the episode title here. You'll kind of get the hint as to what those fun little things might be. But to start, I think today we need to give a little shout out to someone who commented on our YouTube video, our first Inspector Gadget video, and then reached out to us via email, SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com. And they sent us photos. Thank you. So this person, his name's Gannon. They knew or somehow got in contact with, I think knew one of the animators of Inspector Gadget. And this animator
somehow
met. And this person actually gave Gannon some of the original cells. So like from the cell animation from the 80s show, from Inspector Gadget. And so they emailed over pictures, a plug for our YouTube. I'm probably showing the pictures right now, or our Instagram.
Your screen right there. Look at them.
Amazing.
They are really dope though. So that is a serious plug for our YouTube because these pictures are awesome. And they did a great job framing them and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're like fully framed. And I'll put them on our Instagram too, @SatMornMiss.
Another plug.
Boom, I got you. So they're really amazing. They're really cool. They also have some other collectibles and that kind of stuff that they sent pictures of. So shout out to Gannon. Amazing. It truly made our week entirely.
It did.
Especially because one of the cells they sent are from my episode today.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, and that had to be just serendipity, the beauty of it all. Because I was like, Grace and I don't even tell each other the episodes we're doing, let alone people who email us. So that's amazing.
I was like, I need this cell when I saw this one.
Awesome.
Or when I saw it, because it's like a very distinct shot. And I'll tell you that episode in a second. But before I go that, I also want to bring up the theory that Gannon posed, which I think is in line with some of ours about this show. But they had a really good add-on that I would like to bring up. So they said that, yes, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Gadget was indeed a genius pre-operation, but something actually went wrong during the operation. And that is what made him, how he is now.
Explains his situation, I think is what that would get him better.
But Penny and Brain know all about this. They know what happened. Gadget is none the wiser. But they pointed out that maybe, Penny's weird blue book computer calculator thing that we're constantly like, what the fuck is this thing? It's a radar. She hit the pi button and exploded a machine. Like, it's Google. What is this? But Gannon pointed out that perhaps we haven't been able to figure it out, obviously, but it could be that this book computer thing is actually connected to Gadget somehow. And it's what keeps all of his gadgetry in working order and basically keeps it from constantly falling apart because Gadget can't take care of that shit himself.
That's
and so it's like an aid to Gadget's bionic cyborg situation, which I liked that because I don't know what else this book was going to be.
Yeah, right. Or where it came from, how Penny has
Yeah,
access
obtained
to it,
this.
who
Yeah.
made it. Because it seems like something that either like Chief Quimby and his scientists would have made, or that
Yeah.
like Mad would have made. Like why like one of these two
Yes,
very powerful
organizations.
organizations has to have been like created this thing. So now why does
Yes.
Penny have it? Like, and what does it
Yes.
have to do? What does this little 10-year-old girl have to do with this very high-tech
It
futuristic book that can do things that no other man on earth in this show can do?
I wonder, they originally gave it to Gadget after the surgery before they realized he was now an idiot, even though they took half his brain out and gave it to Brain.
Yes,
It's
as
part of
we have
our
also
personal
theorized.
theory.
Yes.
Yeah. And they were like, okay, yeah, like use this book. It'll, like help keep you alive. And then immediately he could not do it.
He
And Penny
lost
was
it
like,
or
I
fucked him
got
up.
this.
Yeah, yeah. And
He's
she's
like,
now
I'll
his
take
glorified
care of
babysitter
this.
slash
Yeah.
the actual hero of the show.
Yes. It's his legal guardian, who's Penny.
Yes.
It's
I
not the
thought you
other
were
way
going to say
around.
is the book for a second. But yeah,
I mean,
it's both. They have joint
same.
custody over him,
Yeah,
the
Penny
book
the
and
book.
Penny. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man. But yeah,
So,
so we love that theory though. We love that theory
yeah,
from Gannon and
it's
just the
perfect.
email in general. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it
really
definitely
tickled
brightened
us.
both of our days. Yeah, we were like
Yeah.
texting about it, like, oh my God, this is so cool. The
Yeah, it was
person was
awesome.
sending us
So,
stuff. And yeah, so also, yeah, plug for other people watching, if you have any cool like cartoon memorabilia or just
yeah.
theories about shows we've covered, or like even if you have suggestions for other shows we've covered, either drop it in
Yes.
the comments, send us an email,
Yep.
saturdaymorningmysteries@gmail.com. And yeah, thanks Gannon again,
Yeah.
giving us
Thank
things
you.
to
It was
think about
awesome.
and cool pictures to look at. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, today for my final episode, I am doing season
Mhm.
1, episode 60, called Birds of a Feather.
Oh, you just knew it.
Oh,
Birds
I
of a
knew
feather,
it.
we should stay together. I actually don't even like
Yeah.
that song that much, but yeah, it just works. And
It
yeah,
just works. And for
bird.
those who don't know, obviously, well, I guess not obviously, some might not know. Maybe some people get confused when I, instead of calling you Alexis, call you Bird. It's because her last
Hmm.
name is Bird. And
Yes.
really, up until we started doing this podcast, I exclusively called you Bird. Or when I used to call your house, I would have to say Allie because I would say, is Bird there? And then your brothers
And
would be like,
everyone would
which
be
one,
like, yes.
Grace? Yeah.
You're talking
So
to him.
yeah, exactly. So it was very unhelpful. So then I used our family nickname, whatever. But for this, I have been saying Alexis far more than I say Bird,
Yeah, yeah,
to be a little more formal, I guess, even though your last
yeah,
name
I
is
guess.
formal. But anytime we can talk
Sure.
about birds,
We're
we're
gonna
here
do
for it.
it.
We're gonna
Yeah,
do it. And we're gonna do it this
yeah.
episode.
Awesome.
So this week, my final Inspector Gadget episode, for
Mhm.
now, as we like to say, takes
Yes.
place in Istanbul, Turkey.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
All righty.
Alrighty then, Inspector Gadget. So we start out and we see 4 birds. We're starting out strong immediately.
Already there.
One is like very, very small. One's kind of like regular, average bird size, I guess. And 2 are quite large and like bulky and hulking. And they're flying through the city of Istanbul. They're kind of flying through it until they get to the outskirts. They have to, cross some water. And we see a very, very old tower, perhaps from old civilizations that used to be.
Constantinople.
I truly was thinking that half this
I've been humming
song.
it this whole in my brain. It's already stuck in my head.
Yes, before I realized that it was in Istanbul, yeah, I was singing that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, we should actually
Oh,
name it, I
great.
guess." But it could
Yeah,
have been there. Anyways,
maybe.
so we see one of these birds through a window. It drops something very, very shiny. We know some birds love shiny objects. And this shiny object lands in the hands of a hunched over man in a very simple, almost like tunic like shirt. He's got a fez on, which is very Turkish of him. Um, and this man, we learn, is named Icarus Finch, which
Oh,
is
another great
just a
thing.
packed name,
Yeah.
just a loaded name, I would say.
And we know how much I love Icarus, so this is great.
I know. I was like,
More
this episode was made for me to
to
tell you
tell
it.
me. Yes.
And like
Yeah.
more and more, you're just going to realize this. And in
Awesome.
classic fashion, I picked this episode solely based on the name. So where we go with it was all a surprise to
We'll
me and really
see.
just
It worked out.
incredible. So, yes, we learned that this is Icarus Finch. Beneath the tunic, we can tell he's like very, very skinny. He has like a very like protruding face. You know, sometimes cartoons like not Nigel style, Eustace style, like protruding from Courage the
Big
Cowardly
jaw.
Dog. Yeah, so he's got that. He's got really thick blonde eyebrows and mustache. Um, he's he's pretty busted. He does not look like he takes care of himself.
Aww.
Icarus has already flown too close to
2025
the sun,
honesty, being honest in 2025. Say it how it
making
is. This
things
man is
worse for
busted.
everyone else but me.
Yeah.
2025. And I feel pretty vindicated in saying this is because the worst part about him, and I just absolutely hated this, I'm not gonna lie to you, is that because we see this when the shiny object falls into his hands and one of the birds flies down as well, is that this man, he's got these like, almost skeletal bony ass hands and nails that are very thin and like 5 inches long. Like,
Oh, like Nosferatu.
yes, exactly. I was like horror movie style. Perhaps though, like talons,
Oh,
one could conjecture, perhaps.
okay. Maybe.
Maybe. But he is a man, I will say. He's not a bird.
Yeah, okay.
He just really loves
A
birds.
bird
His name is
man.
Icarus Finch. Yeah, a bird man.
There's so much going on with this guy. I feel like I need a second to process what's
This
happening.
man will continually just become more and more unwell. I'm going to tell you now.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. This is
how
only
we're
the beginning of his
starting out.
unraveling.
Yes. This is the unraveling of Icarus Finch. He doesn't need a son.
That would be such a good movie or
I
book.
know.
Oh man.
Both.
We called it dibs.
Yeah. Copyright. TM. So we zoom out from Icarus Finch. I'm going to say his full name every time, by the way.
Okay.
And we see, yes, one of the birds who had dropped the object. This is a raven, is sitting on his shoulder. Very fitting. Ravens do sometimes love very shiny objects. They will steal them from you in some places. And we see that they are on the other side of a desk from Dr. Claw and Mad Cat, of course.
Okay.
And so Finch, Icarus Finch, sorry, I can't disrespect
Sorry.
that.
Who's Finch? What?
Fuck, Atticus?
That's what I was gonna say.
Fighting for justice, Icarus Finch.
Icarus Finch down in the southern cult room. All right, sorry, keep going.
Istanbul.
I'm done.
So Finch hands Claw the shiny object, and we see that it's an all gold, like pure gold necklace. Except maybe not exactly a necklace, because instead of, I don't know, putting it on himself or something like that, we know Dr. Claw loves to, be absolutely bedazzled. We see him put it on Mad Cat because it's an all gold collar.
Oh,
Mad Cat is absolutely stunning in it. Looks incredible, is posing.
Yeah.
We don't know what Mad Cat is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
Yes. So Claw is impressed that Icarus Finch was able to steal this jewelry from like a jewelry store in town, if I can say that word. And he gives Finch his next target, which is another piece of jewelry. It is, in fact, the most valuable sapphire in the world, known as the Star of Istanbul. But instead of being housed in another jewelry store, it is the most valuable sapphire in the world. The Star of Istanbul, perhaps a historical object. And as usual, I can't go through an arc without visiting one singular place, whether I mean to or not. That's right. The Star of Istanbul is in a museum. And pew, 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 we're going on a museum heist. Pew, pew, pew.
I've been waiting, honestly. I was like,
I
hasn't done a museum heist episode yet, and I don't like that.
I feel unwell without it.
Sad, yeah.
I thought I was going to go through this whole arc without doing one because, like, he doesn't really go to buildings. He just goes to, like, countries and,
places,
like, wreaks havoc across countries usually. But I guess he did go to an opera. But like, yeah, I just assumed I
That's
wasn't
true.
gonna hit it. And then again, I was like, birds of a feather. I'm gonna do this episode. And then lo and behold,
Icarus? A
Icarus,
museum?
a museum, a
It's like
museum
it was
heist run by
sent
Icarus
from
Finch,
sent by the god Icarus himself
handed down by Icarus himself to me. A
as he
museum
fell
heist.
from the sun.
Yeah, exactly. He said,
Uh,
"Here you go, Grace, a museum heist." And I
Tell
said,
this episode.
"Tell my story." And I said,
Yes.
"Thank you."
Thank you.
So, yes, totally unexpectedly. And I will say in the actual episode, he doesn't say right away that it's in a museum. Like we find out like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 7 minutes into the episode. So it was even more of
Okay.
a like, oh, the
Oh my
gas.
goodness. Don't you
Yes,
love when
I
that
just,
happens? By the way, just like
yes,
the excitement
for
of, oh my God,
me,
this is going to
for
be so fun
me.
to talk about. Yes.
Yes. So I just couldn't hide the fun fact. I had to tell you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So meanwhile, Penny and Gadget are actually at their home in Metro City doing some yard work and stuff. And Quimby is there and he's hiding in the bushes, classically, to give them their
Mhm.
assignment, which is, yes, to go to Turkey and stop this heist.
Mhm.
And at this, Penny looks at Brain and says, "We better go with him. Turkey is a mysterious country. He'll need some help." That was my
Ah,
reaction
okay.
too.
Okay. Plug for our YouTube channel to see our facial reactions to that statement from this 10-year-old girl who has no idea what she's talking about. Okay.
I literally, my next line is, which I found very funny for one, a 10-year-old to say, and two, a very funny thing in general to say. Like,
Yeah.
Turkey is a
Is it?
mysterious, is it?
In the
Is it
80s? I don't
though?
know. I don't know about in the 80s. Okay, go. Oh, do tell us
Well,
about. Okay.
Alexis, God, we're the same person. I said, why would this 10-year-old be like, he's going to need some help in this mysterious, dangerous country? And I said, what was going on in Turkey in 1983? So
Yeah.
I headed over to Wikipedia and, you know, okay, here's what I'm going to say first and foremost. As we always give a disclaimer when we talk about history from
Yeah.
another
Okay.
country,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
As a precursor, we're so sorry for
I'm
everything we're about to say and fuck
so
up.
sorry,
Yes.
especially with this because, man, I I went to other websites too to start reading about this because I think this is so fascinating. And the more I read, the more I was like, with every word, I became less and less qualified to talk about the fact that this episode came out in 1983, and only 3 years before that, it was our favorite thing we like to joke about in the show, a coup.
Okay. I was like, it was either a civil war or a coup. Here we
Yep,
go.
we
Yep.
always land on
Okay.
it.
Yep.
So, yes, in Turkey in 1980, there was a military coup, which came after another coup that had been in 1971, which had been after another coup in 1960. And between, and I was also like, Penny, I don't know if you should go to, like, maybe Gadget was right because he
Yeah.
did not invite Penny to this. Like, for once, they were like, you stay home, Penny, because
Yeah.
this coup that happened in 1980 seemed to be in response that to basically from the 1971 coup up until 1980. It was a decade of specifically, especially political violence. Within that, like, 9-year time frame, there was something like 5,000 political assassinations.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and like
That's crazy.
Wikipedia, again, this is just from Wikipedia, this part, but it was like that's something like
Yeah.
10 assassinations a day or something insane like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which could you imagine? Are there even 5,000 politicians like
Yeah, just I mean, one
in
goes away,
America?
another one
I guess
springs
probably, but
up, another one goes away,
exactly.
another one springs up, just like the replacement situation.
The circle of life. Yikes.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
so,
crazy.
like I said, I did end up doing somewhat of a deep dive and realizing how incredibly underqualified I am of this. But I think, I
Hmm.
don't know, I just think politics is very fascinating, especially history,
Yes.
et cetera,
Hmm.
especially, the little section on the Wikipedia page that had the debate of how much / whether or not, of course, the United States knew about this coup before it did or did not happen. Anyways, it's up for debate as usual. But like Penny, who am I to be qualified to talk about this coup?
I'll just say anytime I hear the word coup, there's three particular letters I always think of. I'll just leave it at that, and we can
They shall not be named. Yes.
They shall not be named.
Yes. And so, according to Wikipedia, in 1983, so again, this military coup happened in 1980. And in 1983, they held kind of like democratic-ish elections. And we say ish because they did hold an election, but all political rivals from the time of the coup until this election had been completely banned from politics, and any political parties had to be approved by the National Security Council. But some sources do say, like the Turkish National Security Council.
Turkish, okay, that's what I figured. But then I was also wondering, like, wait, the UN or the Turkish or the American, the USA?
All maybe the same.
All reasonable options.
Again, I'm sorry, everyone in Turkey. But it was considered a partial return to democracy, kind of. And later in the 80s, it did have more of a return to democracy, kind of post this first election. But also, and this is when I was like, wow, this is so just confusing of like, wow, there was so much political unrest in like the 70s here and a lot of violence. This coup happened, and it was like a non-violent, I think it was like a bloodless coup. I mean, kind of more or less. Like it wasn't like
other than the 5,000 assassinations.
Yeah, beforehand, not like the actual night of the coup kind of thing. Yeah. But I'm sure some people, didn't fare super well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also between 1980 and 1983, Turkey was under martial law. And under that martial law, this is a pretty wide-ranging estimate. Between 250,000 to 650,000 people were detained real quick, even by 1982, and a lot of them were stripped of their citizenship. And like, you know what? Less than I thought were executed. Only like 50 people were outright executed on record. So, you know what? What the fuck do me or Gadget or Penny or Brain know about Turkish politics? Again,
apparently
I'm sorry.
Mysterious.
I felt like I was in a mystery here, being like,
that is something.
Yes. So it was very complicated, et cetera, et cetera. And I see why, yes, Quimby / Gadget were like, okay, Penny, maybe you sit this one out, perhaps.
Yeah, you don't come with us. You may see things that you will never forget.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want that for a 10-year-old girl. Yes.
Yeah, you can go to the moon with us for your book report, but still kind of fresh off a coup country. Maybe
like a literal nation in crisis, like a political, constitutional, if they have a constitution, whatever, like crisis.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they definitely, as soon as they got in power, did away with a lot of the laws and bodies of lawmaking, et cetera, et cetera.
Checks and powers and whatnot, or checks and balances and whatnot. Yes. I'm interested in reading more about that.
I'm telling it was very interesting. Exactly. That's why I was like, I debated putting this in or not. And I was like, again, Alexis is going to love this. This is
going to be interesting for her. You know this. Thank you.
I'm putting it in here.
And it does make me wonder, because that wasn't that long ago. I guess, wow. Well, now it kind of was, which is hard to believe because it's already 2025. Exactly. Yeah. But some of it is definitely probably what led to their political situation today. Whatever that is. Again, we're not experts, but it's just interesting to think, since it isn't that far back in history,
there's a lot of
people. How is this impacting the politics and economy of Turkey right now? Which is giving me more reading to do this afternoon.
I know. Again,
there we go.
I really started to spiral. It was.
Yep.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was a good read.
But we are a cartoon crime comedy podcast, not a coup, war history, and or political history podcast.
So we are a cartoon.
There's only so much we can say.
Exactly. If a cartoon has had a coup in it,
we're going to cover that episode.
I haven't found it yet, but one day.
Yes.
So, anyways, yes, Gadget goes to Turkey, but even though, again, everyone was like, do not come with us, child, Penny and Brain are stowaways and sneak into this country
Mm.
with Gadget. Well, Gadget goes in regularly, but they fully sneak in Penny and Brain.
Which also doesn't seem like a good idea post martial law or like okay, go
No,
ahead.
keep in mind with some of the things Penny does this episode that no one knows she's here.
Oh gosh. Oh, this
Just
is, dude.
no
The
one knows she's
CIA is
here.
listening to this, like salivating, like, we need a Penny. We need a woman on the inside, goes
Get her
totally
in there.
undetected. Get her. Yeah. Oh
Yeah, we know
man.
Dr. Claw doesn't know who she is. There's no way whoever this military rule is knows who Penny is
Knows
either.
either.
Yep.
Exactly.
But she's
Mm-mm-mm.
about to be this country's number one enemy. So, yes, Gadget gets to Turkey. He pulls up right to the museum, which is this is finally when we realize that, yes, it's a museum heist in the actual show.
Yeah.
He meets the curator, a classic tall, thin dude in a nice suit, and he brings Gadget in and to see the sapphire. It's in the classic, glass case in the middle of a giant atrium type of
Hmm.
thing. And we get a look-see-loo at the security system around the sapphire when Gadget, of course, is the one who sets it off. Um,
Yeah.
he goes over the ropes for it. A bunch of lasers spring up from the ground, alarms blare, metal doors
Hmm.
all like choo 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 slam down and seal off the exits from this atrium. And naturally, Claw is able to see all of this. He's hacked into that museum system.
Yeah.
And he tells Icarus Finch to just go ahead and carry on with the mission of stealing the sapphire. Bonus, of course, if he can take care of Gadget as well. I like to think that he's like, take care of Gadget so Gadget doesn't see me stealing this necklace, this sapphire, because I'm going to give it to him as a present.
Yeah.
This is going to go into his engagement ring and or a necklace for him. He can't see it that I'm already taking it.
It's a surprise.
Yeah, it's got to be a surprise. Big surprise. And so Icarus Finch looks to the group of the four birds that we saw kind of at the start and tells them to go get the job done. And now I might hear you asking right now, Alexis, who is this group of birds?
Who is this
Well,
group of birds?
I thought I heard that whisper on the
Who
wind
is this
here.
group of birds?
Well, let me tell you real quick, because we have a
Yeah.
flock of four here that are basically geniuses because they
Ooh.
can go do crime.
Yeah.
And we will see that these are basically the masterminds behind the heists ordered by
Of
Icarus
course.
Finch, who is kind of just
Mm.
there to like feed them, more or less, and like talk to humans
Okay.
for them. So,
Okay.
first, we have a very broad chested peregrine falcon. And he wears
Ooh.
one of those like leather falconry helmets on them, or on. So like, I don't know if you've ever seen people like doing falconry, but yeah, like they have like these little like leather helmets on them.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he's wearing one of those. It's in red. It's very fashionable.
Ooh.
Um,
Okay.
and
Go
a fun
off.
fact about peregrine falcons. So I'm gonna give you fun facts for all four of these birds here.
Please do. I need some bird knowledge added
Yes.
to my brain. Hmm.
Yes, is that peregrine falcons are the fastest animal on the planet and can reach up
Wow.
to 200 miles per hour.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, if you've ever seen them, they are incredible. A place I used to climb in the Northeast was a nesting spot for peregrine falcons. So actually, a part of the year you weren't allowed to climb there at all. Are you looking at a picture of them right now?
I was getting ready to, and I was
Do
like,
it.
how can I do this
Do it.
without
I'll be
looking
putting a
like I'm
picture
not paying
of
attention
the
at
actual
all?
bird, obviously on YouTube. Yes, they are beautiful. You're gonna have to look up all four of these birds as I tell you about them.
I'm just gonna leave Google open.
Yes,
Well,
please
oh
do.
my God.
Please
Oh,
do.
okay. See, yeah,
Yes.
that's like what you think of almost when you think of a
Yes.
falcon.
Uh-huh.
This one. Yeah. Oh
Hmm.
man, I know this guy's fucking some stuff up in this episode.
Oh,
240.
yes.
And they dive. Sorry,
Yes,
go
they
ahead.
dive bomb. Very
Continue.
important to keep in mind for later, in fact. And
Yes,
if you do
okay.
watch, it's really cool. After this episode, of course, go watch videos of them hunting because it's like
Yes.
aerial acrobatics and like dive bombing, and it's
Ah,
incredible.
gosh,
Yes.
they're beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry,
And
I'm still listening. It's like I
no,
don't
you're
want to
good,
look it
good,
up
good,
because
good,
it's
good.
gonna.
I'm going to tell you another
Okay,
thing about them. And I'm going to
cool.
actually, I've decided to include this for all four birds because of who I am as a person. And for one
Mhm.
of them in particular, I think it's important that we talk about this. But so this thing exists called the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or the
Mhm.
IUCN. And it's basically this international inventory that holds and like basically ranks or gives a conservation status for all types of animals across the globe.
Mhm.
And peregrine falcons, this is a very fun and special dear to my heart fact about them. Um, they are actually one of like the most dramatic success stories of the Endangered
Hmm.
Species Act here in the United States. So basically, in like the
Oh.
mid 1900s, their population absolutely started to tank, primarily from pesticides. So, think
Hmm.
especially like 60s and 70s, I think was like
Yeah.
the biggest hits on them. And they got listed as endangered, like their populations were dwindling so quickly. But once they became a protected species, which is like a very specific designation in the United States, especially for endangered species, and you can still be a
Hmm.
protected species and not technically be endangered anymore. There's like a
Endangered.
lot
Yeah.
of tiers, I guess, to
Tiers.
being
Okay.
protected
Yeah.
species.
Levels. Hmm.
Yes, but in and again, in like the 1990s were again like kind of like 60s through 90s, like their populations were absolutely tanking.
Yeah.
But once they were endangered and became protected, they have recovered like incredibly well. They're not even considered endangered anymore. I think they're just
Wow.
I don't even think according to the
Like not even
IUCN.
vulnerable or
Yes, I don't think
whatever.
they're vulnerable anymore. Like they're of least concern now,
Wow.
maybe because their populations,
Let's
once they got
go
protected.
Falcons. Yeah.
Exactly. Nice. I got that reference. The
Cool.
Super
Cool.
Bowl's tomorrow, everyone, the day we're
Yes,
recording
exactly.
this.
I mean, Falcons aren't playing, but like, yeah, football
Yeah,
team. I
but we're
was
talking about
thinking, yeah,
football. I got it. You say go
exactly.
Falcons. So yes, yes, they're an incredible story of their protection and this huge success that they had in recovering their population. And so, again, for example, where I used to climb in the Northeast, part of their protection is that, like, during their nesting season, like, it has to go undisturbed. So the entire, like,
Mm,
cliff was closed at that time, which was just really cool. And they had,
cool.
like, a lot of information about the birds around there.
Nice.
So, get out Google now because you're going to want to see
Okay,
this next bird. This one I
cool.
had never heard of before is the sword-billed hummingbird.
Oh, it sounds small, especially in
Yes.
comparison
Yes,
to the
this was the little
peregrine.
tiny one I
Oh,
mentioned. Uh-huh.
oh, but I see. I see his special
You
skill.
see
I
his
see how he's going to
sword
help.
bill.
Exactly.
Yes, he has a very
Yeah.
special set of skills.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the show, this bird is like a peachy color, but in reality, they are like this beautiful emerald green, a little bit of black, and like a bronze-ish head.
Hmm.
They live in South America. I guess the peregrine falcon I know lives in the Northeast. I didn't look up where else that one lives. I'm sorry. But yes, the
Eh,
sword-billed
good
hummingbird
enough
is
for
in
me.
South America. And the fun fact about it, you maybe heard us already say its special skill.
Hmm.
This hummingbird has a very long, thin beak, but
Hmm.
this is the only bird in the world whose beak is longer than its body. I
Whoa.
see you look back at that picture. Now you
You
see
say,
it.
yeah, I'm going. I mean, it does not look proportional whatsoever. It's very
Exactly.
cartoonish.
Yes, it's so freaking cute. I want to see this bird
Yeah.
so badly, this
It's
hummingbird. I'm obsessed with
adorable.
him. Hummingbird's
Yes.
one of my favorite birds, and this just really locked this guy into
Hmm.
some of the top hits here.
Nice.
So it's very cute. Yes, its beak is the only one in the world that's longer than its body, which is kind of crazy of, yeah, like the logistics of,
Hmm.
wielding such
Being
a
able to
weapon.
fly with that. And I bet it still
Yes.
flies very fast, like hummingbirds
Yep.
typically do. So, like, the aerodynamics on that are
Yeah,
crazy.
insane. So
Yeah.
its IUCN status is also of least concern, which is great.
Nice. Good.
It has a really huge range and a general lack of threats, obviously, like, sans climate change and deforestation, which are both
Yeah.
threats to everything in the
Yeah.
world and including
Hmm.
South
Including
America.
humans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But yes, they are considered of least concern, which is great. So then I mentioned this earlier, we have a raven Classic. You
Oh,
know what this
okay.
looks
I
like.
mean,
You can
I'm still
still
gonna
look them
look
up
up a
though.
picture of it up
They're
though. I
so
am
beautiful.
absolutely
I think ravens are gorgeous.
hilarious because Google knows me. Half of the results are bird ravens, and half of the results are Raven from Teen
Football.
Titans. So no, not
Oh
even
my God.
football.
I
No,
want to be
I was
her so
expecting
bad.
Ravens football to come up, but nope, not even that. Teen
Yeah, I know.
Titans, love it.
I
Anyways,
want to be her
sorry.
Starfire always by childhood. Anyways,
Sames. Yes.
um, so yes, then we have a raven who, yes, he's just a regular size kind of bird. He's all black. He is
Beautiful.
kind of like Icarus Finch's like number one guy, which makes sense
Hmm.
because ravens are notoriously smart, like most corvids.
Hmm.
So, my fun fact about them, which you probably already know, is that ravens can remember people's faces. And this is called an episodic memory, which is what humans and primates also have. So, like, that is how we're
Oh,
able to remember things that we see and have this, like, longevity of memory,
interesting.
essentially. And with this, they hold a very also special skill, which is ravens have been reported and recorded to, like me, hold grudges. There's like crazy stories from like around the world, and crows also do this. So sometimes the stories are about crows, sometimes they're about ravens, of
Yeah.
like this happened, I think, kind of like recently-ish in Seattle, is that like someone lived in a house that like somehow fucked with like either the crows or the ravens that like were nearby. And like so the crow or like again crow slash ravens, we're just gonna combine them for the sake of this, even though they are different species,
Mhm.
would like dive bomb this person every time he came out of his house. And eventually like this person moved, but new people have moved into the house since then. And the ravens are still
Um,
like, whoever lives in this house is our fucking enemy.
fuck
And
you.
like
Yeah.
anyone who comes out of the house, they will still attack. And like there's so many
Mm,
stories like this of corvids being like, you hurt me once,
I
never
will hurt you
again.
forever. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
And
Wow.
sometimes it is thought that, or it is a thought or question of like, can ravens also like teach other ravens to hold the same grudge, and like can they pass down a grudge and that kind of stuff? And
Mm,
they will also do
frogs.
it if you look like someone else. So like if someone who
Oh
looks
my
like me fucked
gosh.
with like this flock, they would attack me if they saw me kind of thing. Anyways, it's
Dang.
wild. They are petty as fuck. Edgar Allan
Wow.
Poe knew
He knew.
these
He knew.
petty
The whole city of
motherfuckers.
Baltimore knows. They get
Yeah.
it. They get
Everyone
it.
is petty and they're not ashamed for it.
Are all ravens
Um,
Capricorns? Dot dot dot.
I mean, Raven from Teen
Maybe.
Titans probably was, and we want to be
She
her,
probably was.
so
Either Capricorn or
probably.
Scorpio by the sounds of it. Yeah. Don't fuck with us. Anyways.
Exactly. So, yes, ravens, luckily, they are also animals, status of least concern. They're found all across the
Mhm.
globe. They're thriving. And finally, we
Nice.
have a bird who I specifically saved for last because this is my
Okay.
husband's favorite bird
Is
of
it?
all
Okay.
time. And it's a bird that we're going on our honeymoon this year to Chile, and
Mhm.
he has said we are not leaving the country until he sees this
And
bird. And I believe him. So maybe
yeah,
goodbye
I was gonna say,
forever.
but like I was like, sadly, I may not see Grace for years.
Yeah. Please, someone bring my dogs down to Chile for me. I can't live without
Yes.
them. And I guess we're moving there
Uh-oh.
now.
Yeah.
And this bird, Alexis, get that Google ready. You're gonna need to see this
I'm
motherfucker.
I'm ready to type. I'm looking like, what's she
Is
gonna say?
the Andean condor.
Oh, the condors. Yes.
But this bird, especially the Andean, especially the males,
Yeah.
are
Oh, it looks like a
in
vulture.
fucking sane looking. Well, condors are also birds
What?
of prey. So
Okay,
they're
yeah.
similar
So
to
are they
vultures
like
in that sense.
cousins of
Yeah.
vultures or something?
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
in the same breed
Whoa.
or like genus or
You're
family or
not leaving
whatever.
until you see one of these? I mean, so I'm sure you'll see one, but it looks really scary.
Yeah, they're insane looking. So for everyone should be Googling
Yeah.
this bird right now. Yes, so kind of yes, like condors and vultures often look very similar, although they are different. But yes, it has like the bald head. It's got like at the base of its neck this big plume. The males have, I can't remember what it's called, like the technical term, but they have this giant bump on their head.
But no, I was
So
looking at a
yes,
picture of this condor as you were saying that, and I was like, what the fuck? Sorry,
yeah,
go
these are
on.
insane looking. If you've ever been to the subreddit, are divorced birds. It's an incredible subreddit, and it takes pictures of birds and like gives them a caption of looking like they're recently divorced and like have recently taken all their husband's money. And this is what the Andean condor looks like to me, of like
Amazing.
an old widow who, or like a black widow perhaps, has just killed all her
Yes.
husbands and has millions and billions of dollars now. But okay, my fun fact here is that
Yeah.
for the Andean condor, yes, they're South America, they're along the Andes mountain range, is that when measured by both wingspan and weight, there's like a lot of different definitions of how to define this. Sometimes it's just wingspan, sometimes it's just weight, sometimes it's seabird, sometimes it's land bird. So we're focusing on just land birds here because
Hmm.
for seabirds, I think it's the albatross by wingspan. But for
Yeah.
land birds by wingspan and weight, Andean condors are one of the largest, if not the largest, flying land bird in the world. And it's
Wow.
often
Yeah.
considered the biggest bird of prey in the world. And the only one that, like, it kind of goes back and forth between the Andean condor and the Californian condor. So either way, it's a condor. Condor.
Hmm. Condor.
And these
Yeah,
guys,
they're
the Andean
massive.
condor, their wingspans can be up to 10 or 11 feet, which is the size or the
Fuck
length
out
of
of
a
here.
compact
Fuck out of
car.
here. Yeah, that's insane. Fuck
Yes.
out of
And
here.
but they somehow also only weigh like 33 pounds. They weigh like a small
Wow.
dog weight. Thanks to those,
Wow.
good old hollow bird bones.
Exactly.
Yes. So these are fucking
Wow.
huge. Justin and I will be in the Andes and we are bringing our binoculars and we are going to try to see this bird.
Can
But it might be
can
challenging, even though we will be there during its season, because these birds are considered vulnerable. Their population is declining pretty steadily.
uh
It's a combination due to, so as birds of prey, obviously they are carnivores, they're eating, large prey on the ground. But this large
hmm
prey is consuming things that have like basically runoff and other like human chemicals in them. And so this is like pretty common
hmm
of like birds will get poisoning from like their prey, their food.
Yeah.
And so the Indian condor, they're dying from poison from the animals that they're eating. A lot of habitat loss from development and climate change. And there's also illegal hunting and the wildlife trade. Sometimes people will blame the Andean condors for like killing livestock and thus they'll shoot them when they see them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And only
Yeah.
10,000 of these birds remain. It's
Oh
thought
God.
throughout all of South America in the wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
Well, damn. You know what?
yes.
Maybe I won't share this thing then instead that I
What?
pulled.
What?
It was the thing that had me like covering my mouth
What?
as
Was it a
I
picture of a dead
froze.
one?
No, no,
Oh,
thank
thank God.
God. No, that, yeah. It's so on Google, when you just kind of like hover over the images that pop up, it like
Uh-huh.
shows you like a little blurb from the article it comes from. And
Uh-huh.
one of these insane images of two men holding it out, holding the condor out
Oh,
by its
yeah.
like wingspan. I was like, what the fuck? And it's from an NPR article that's
Oh.
titled in Peru's Blood Festival, it's the condor versus the bull. I was like, what the fuck is the Blood Festival? And then I
Well,
clicked on it, and it's a picture of a condor on a bull's back while the bull is trying to buck it up, and it's like gouging its eyes out.
oh my
The
God.
condor is
Well,
gouging the bull's eyes.
I
Sorry. Yeah.
mean, that gondor will fuck you up. But a very
Yes.
interesting fact is that the Andean condor, and I think maybe condors in general, throughout kind of their range in South America. So the Andes go through multiple countries in South America. There's a lot of mountainous
Hmm.
ranges. They're actually involved in a part of a lot of myths and like folklore in the
Yeah, I
country, which
bet.
is also just an interesting of like that, like, um, juxtaposition of like this population that is in decline yet has this like really revered special place in like old mythology and folklore in it, and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff is just always a really
Yeah, I
interesting
bet. Probably, I
opposition
mean,
to each other.
and especially, if you think way back to before there was like technology and stuff, when
Yeah.
people would come up with these like folk tales and everything, if
Yeah.
you see something that big flying that fast overhead of you, you're
Yeah.
gonna think it's like a dragon or a monster of
Yeah,
some
carrying
sort
like a
until you,
fucking deer in
even
its
if, yeah,
talons.
exactly,
Like,
literally picking up an animal and flying off with it. And
yeah.
if you're, I mean, if you've seen other birds and you compare it to this, like you think, oh my God, this is like a demon bird when you look at it.
Yes.
Because again, it's beautiful, it's majestic, but it
Yeah.
does not look like other birds. So I'm
Yeah.
not surprised if people come up with crazy ass like folktale stories. I'm
Yes.
thinking of some right now. Oh God. Oh, okay, I'm gonna close out of
Exactly.
this.
Yeah.
It's
It's pretty
beautiful and I
wild.
love it, but it's also just like very intimidating looking.
Yes,
I want to
exactly.
talk about hummingbirds again, Grace.
I know. I know. I saved the coolest, craziest one for last, and also the
Well
saddest
done.
one. So,
Yes.
anyways, I'll
Yeah.
report back everyone if we end up seeing one.
Please
I'll
do
let the
post
folks
a
know. I
pic
know
of it
everyone's
too.
waiting
Yes.
for this answer.
Yes.
So, anyways,
But I
back
love
in
this bird posse. They each have
yes,
like they're each wearing a hat I can see that they're
yes,
going to
they
use in this
are.
mission. Yeah, it's like the
You are
perfect
correct.
squad for a
Yeah,
heist of some sort, if you will.
exactly. There was a
Mhm.
montage scene of the Raven being like, "One last job, boys," and like calling his
Get the
crew.
gang back together.
Exactly.
Caw, caw,
Caw,
caw.
caw, caw. I know you said no more jobs. Slams down the brief on the
One more.
on the desk. This is the last one. I need you, man. I need you.
Think of the nest you'll build in the Andes with this take.
Cliffside, never be disturbed again.
Yeah.
You can retire good, man. Retire good. No, no one's
I
gonna find you
promise
out
you.
there.
Hmm.
So, yes, our bird flock here, they fly off to the museum here in Istanbul. And as they're flying across town, Penny, who's, gone out of her stowaway in the back of Gadget's car, she
Hmm.
sees these birds and she is able to clock that none of these birds, except for the raven, should be in Turkey. She's like,
Facts.
she literally
Yes.
is like, that's an Andean condor. This bird is too far from home.
Okay.
Bitch
Go
knows. I
off,
think she
Penny.
used her special book, but either way,
Probably. Yeah.
that's how
She
we know we love
knows.
Penny. She's a birder.
Yeah.
All good people are birders.
Exactly.
So these birds make it to the museum and they're able to look through the different windows to find the room that has the sapphire in it because the atrium that it's in, I mean, it's an atrium, which means probably it has a skylight above it.
Hmm.
So they're able to look down through the skylight, even though there are bars over the skylight, and they see Gadget guarding the jewel. Kind of.
Oh
His
God. Okay.
body is there next to the jewel, but he's sleeping right now.
Oh, all right. Kind of. He's guarding it in his
So
dreams.
maybe,
Yeah. I
probably
don't even
not
know if
even
he does
then.
have dreams. No.
Yeah, just blanket full. It actually, you just unplug him
Hmm.
for a little
It's
bit.
binary. It's just zeros
Yeah,
and
spider
ones.
code.
Hmm.
But Gadget does stir awake a little bit. He's like watching TV too, or like some commercial or something came on and wakes him up. He realizes, like a lot of us do when we wake up, that he's a little thirsty. So he leaves his post to go try and find a water fountain or like a vending machine. And thankfully, there's another guard there who points him in the right
Okay.
direction to the vending machine. So Gadget goes off to get the drink. And as he's taking his first sip, he realizes, wait, there's not supposed to be any other guards on duty tonight except for me.
Uh, uh, not so
So,
thankful anymore.
not so thankful. So he runs back the way he came and starts looking for this guard because he's like, this guy is obviously a mad agent. He is going to try to steal the sapphire. It's like the first time ever that
Mhm.
Gadget has actually been like, I think I spotted an agent. I am locked and loaded into this. So you seem suspicious, as you should
Yeah,
be,
no, because I'm like
because
there is another thing that could be the scar. But anyway, go on.
hmm, perhaps because as we see Gadget trying to chase the guard jumps into one of the exhibits to hide from Gadget. In the exhibit, he's wearing like an open vest, maybe like an how do you say it? Like an imama, which is kind of like a type of turban.
Okay.
And out of the turban, though, or maybe we see him hide underneath the turban, a pair of yellow ears. But he can't hide that big red nose. It's obviously Brain. He was
Brain,
dressed up
okay.
like a guard.
Cool.
Now
That
he's
was
dressed
yeah.
up like an exhibit in the museum, hiding
Mhm.
from Gadget, who is like yelling for the guard to show himself. Like Gadget is on one thinking he finally has caught a mad agent, but he can't find
Yeah.
the
The
agent
agent.
and also his
Who is
brain.
actually his dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
So this fuckery is happening, a lot of shenanigans, and within them, Gadget does indeed end up catching Brain and putting cuffs on him. And as this is happening, like it's very loud. They're obviously knocking over a lot of like, cultural possessions with this museum,
Hmm.
ruining things,
Usual.
et cetera, et
Par for
cetera.
the course.
Yep. But it is very loud. So they don't hear our dear Andean condor rip the bars off of the skylight.
Oh
He
God.
even had
Yeah.
little sweatbands on his talons, like on his feet,
Oh,
because
he's
he's
like, I'm
really
getting
being
my
a
workout in
sloth.
today. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Aw.
And he goes
I'm rooting
off.
for
He's,
these birds, Grace. Don't make
I
me root
mean,
for the criminals. How
you're
can
gonna
you
do it the whole,
not,
whole
though?
time, frankly. I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna pretend like we're not going to.
Cool. All right.
And
As long as we're on
so,
the same page about it.
yeah, as long as you and I are clear, we're
Yeah,
good. We're
we're
clear.
rooting for the bad guys here today, right?
Yes,
Not Dr.
yes.
Claw, just the birds.
Just the
Not
birds.
not even I am rooting for Atticus Finch too, actually.
Atticus
Yeah.
Finch. Icarus.
Atticus Finch, good God, Icarus Finch. I am rooting for Atticus Finch,
Yes,
yes,
also true.
always,
Also
but
true. But
Icarus
yes,
Finch.
and then the condor goes off and he grabs a giant stone from the ground below and drops it on the skylight, which breaks it open.
Mm,
So
mm.
at this point, Gadget drags Brain back into the atrium with the sapphire, and they see a little hummingbird
No,
in the room. It turns and looks
no.
at them. It was like right on the case with the sapphire on it. And Gadget is like, "Oh, it's just a little birdie." And the bird looks at Gadget and is like, "I don't need to worry about you." And then it goes back to what it was doing, which is, I mean, look, this bird is really cute, but it is
Hmm.
also actively taping sticks of dynamite to the glass.
So cute. Wait, how is this working? I can't wait to watch this because
It
those sticks
like
of dynamite have to be like 5 times the size of the
so much
hummingbird.
bigger than this hummingbird
Okay.
is. But I think the hummingbird's been working out with the Andean condor because it was like
Okay,
able
yeah.
to like
Getting
lower it
gains.
down, or maybe one of the other birds dropped it for him. But he's like
Gotcha.
using his giant beak to like tape down like little pieces of tape across the dynamite on top of the exhibit.
I was expecting the hummingbird to like be picking locks or something, not
No,
that, but that would make too
this
much
hummingbird
sense.
says fuck your
Hmm.
stereotypes.
Hummingbirds can do it all, okay?
Yeah,
We can't just pick
watch me.
locks and like stab
Yeah,
people with our sword
yeah.
beaks.
We
Watch me
also,
tape this dynamite down.
I'm also the explosives expert. Every good heist movie needs one, and guess what? It's fucking me.
Which is funny because every good heist movie does also need like a lock expert, like someone
Yes.
who can pick locks and stuff.
I'm
And I
a
was like,
two for
oh,
one.
sweet, that's the boom. There you go.
I'm a deal.
Sorry. I thought the Raven would be the bomb expert, the explosives expert, but here we go. All
Nope.
right.
It's
I
the
love it.
fucking
Break these
hummingbird, baby.
stereotypes.
Let's
Yeah.
do it. And so Gadget at this point, though, not seeing this dynamite at all, is like, like kind of like any good person when you see a bird trapped indoors, like you want to try and kind of like
Hmm.
shush, like
Get
get
it
it out
out.
type of thing.
Yeah.
So Gadget, gets out a net and is like, trying to get the little bird to like, be able to take him outside and free him, he thinks. But in the chaos of all this happening, first, we have our peregrine falcon come down and start attacking Brain and Gadget
Great.
with its talons. And also, the dynamite goes off,
Oh
um,
boy.
which explodes, yes, the case. It also shoots Gadget and Brain back, like slamming them into a wall. The hummingbird is able to go and get the sapphire at this point. And the falcon is still like going to attack them, but an alarm goes off, and the birds on top, so namely the raven, hear sirens coming. And the raven, because another
Mm.
fun fact about ravens is that they can imitate noises. So whether that be like
I didn't know
noises
that.
from like other bird calls to people speaking, ravens are
Oh,
able to imitate them. And so this raven down
so
to the
cool.
falcon goes, "It's the cops. We gotta scram." Obviously, he's got to scream, but basically he's like, stop, and says, it's the cops.
He heard Icarus Finch say that over and over. And was like, wait, I have the perfect phrase for this moment.
We always run. I hear the siren, which I
That's
remember, and then the human says this, and then we fly. Got it. Let's go. It's
That's
the
like not what
cops.
I was expecting. I was expecting it to like imitate another bird or another siren just to
It's
confuse.
the
Can I
cops.
ask what does its voice sound like? I
You know,
imagine it like a gruff New Yorker. Hurry up,
hey,
it's the
it's the
cops. We gotta
cops. We
go.
gotta
Like
go.
this
I don't totally
this
remember.
Turkish raven.
This is the only speaking line that it had, and it was quite fast.
Okay.
And there was alarms going off and
Yeah.
sirens, the ringing from hearing the dynamite going on. I was sensory overload as if I was there in this museum. I could smell the TNT burning in the air.
You had the ashes on your fingers and everything.
Exactly. So,
Interesting.
yes. So the
Can't wait to
falcon
hear.
flies up as well. The hummingbird, yes, has the sapphires also flown up, and all of the birds fly away. In the meantime, Gadget, there's always a concussion in this show. He hit the wall
Hmm.
real fucking hard and is like
Oh no.
passed out. Bray uses this opportunity to go through his pockets and find the keys to the cuffs and
Great.
undoes his cuffs and books it out of there
Nice.
just in time for the cops to run into the atrium to see an exploded case,
Hmm.
remnants of dynamite, and some
Hmm.
American dude in a trench coat passed out from a dynamite blast.
Oh no.
And they immediately arrest Gadget.
Yes.
And these, let's not
Understandably.
forget, I don't know what date this episode came out, nor what date the democratic election-ish happened in Turkey, but presumably this is still martial law Turkey
Yes.
that have just now
So
arrested Gadget.
so the outlook is not looking good for Gadget.
It's not looking great for him.
Yes.
But luckily, the curator also shows up and is able to explain everything to about the situation, and Gadget is freed.
Hmm.
And now I would like to pause here really fast to give you another thing catered just for you, Alexis,
Yay. Okay.
which is I think that during the research of what I wanted to look up, which was museum heists in Turkey that I could tell you about, I
Mm-hmm.
may or may not have stumbled upon a question mark conspiracy question mark.
Oh, do go on?
Because
Question mark?
here's the situation that I came across. And I
Yeah.
spent way too much time trying to find this out. And I need someone who's better at the internet than me to suss this shit out for me. So, yeah,
Listeners,
there's been
viewers, do your thing
do your
after she
thing.
explains. Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, there's like, a handful of classically museum heists here and there. They all get solved, whatever, whatever.
Hmm.
But then I came across this single article from a Turkish newspaper in 2014. I
Okay.
read this article and I went and looked up more specifically the museum that was named in it. And I clicked the link that it like cited as its report. And the link took me to a blog post. And the blog post also cited like an art blog post that also cited
Hmm.
the original article from the Turkish newspaper. And this is like a reputable newspaper. Like I went and Googled it really fast and like it's one
Like
of the
an
top,
actual.
yeah, it's like one of
Yeah.
like the top 10 newspapers in Turkey. I obviously can't say it. It starts with an H and I did not write it down. Because I didn't
Okay.
write any of this actually down because I was like, there's nothing to actually write down because there's no like what are the sources here? So what
Yeah.
it said was that basically in 2014, someone potentially, well, presumably the police got an anonymous call by someone who gave like the code name Daylight. And Daylight said that essentially this museum, and I think it was Anarat, is maybe the town name. Again, I didn't write any of this down because again, I was like, what is there to write down? There's no facts here.
Yeah.
But there is like an archaeological museum in this large city in Turkey. And they had done like a really big inventory in kind of like the earlier 2000s, like of their artifacts. Like this is something like museums regularly do. They have to keep track of their inventory. And while doing this, they realized a couple things. That one, and this was like the inventory is from like 2005, or I'll tell you the actual dates in a second. But basically, they're going
Mm.
through and they're realizing that there's about 300 pieces that are either missing,
Okay.
are fakes, or are suspicious of like whether they are fake or real.
Yeah.
And so this happened, and I think
You
it
say
was
at
like
least 300? Sorry.
yes, it's like 300 or like 330 or something like that. That again are
Okay.
gone, fake, or like questionably a duplicate. So possibly fake as well, just like kind of suspicious. And so I
Yeah.
think this
Yeah.
investigation was done by like a cultural ministry in Turkey. And when the museum started getting questioned by it, like, what the fuck is going on here? They were like, well, like, honestly, like, we never really had a really good inventory, especially because all of those years of coups, there was a lot of like theft that happened during that. And like,
Yeah.
there was no government arts agency to help us track this stuff. Like, so much of our history was chaos that like we don't even know half of these things in this
Yeah.
inventory that we found that we even had. How do we know what was stolen then? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to 2014, some presumably the police get this call that again only this blog post and this article cite, and like I found like four other articles on like weird art websites and they only cite these two articles, or again a blog post and an article.
In an article, yeah.
And apparently Daylight, this anonymous caller, called and like the local police or like a I don't know some authority and said like
Yeah.
I am like an antiques collector. I know why all of those pieces are missing or are fakes, duplicates, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, I
Hmm.
was involved like in this ring that from 2005 to 2009 stole, replaced, slash duplicated all of these pieces of art. And it was done thanks to people within the cultural like ministry, guards, like the head guards of this
Yep.
museum and the curators of this museum of like the classic, it was
Hmm.
all inside
Inside
jobs.
jobs.
And
Yep.
this collector, or like, yeah, collector was like, or maybe he was a buyer, was like, I wasn't in like fully the day to day, but I did help like fence some of these things to like businessmen. And like, here's where you
Hmm.
can go find some of them.
One of the middlemen, if you will.
And that's the last thing I could find about it. Like a handful of people it said got arrested. It was like 18 people were arrested. And that's it. That's where the trail ends. I went to this museum's Wikipedia page, and there's nothing on the Wikipedia page about things being stolen. There's, again, an article from like I thought a legit Turkish newspaper, a random art blog post, and then like again, four or five other art websites. And I'm like, is this just because everything else is in Turkish and just, but that would still come up on Google. Like there's
Yeah.
barely anything about this. So I am perplexed. I am so confused. Did I just uncover a conspiracy? I don't know, but
Yeah.
someone needs to figure it out and tell me the facts. Go edit that Wikipedia page for me. I don't know what needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, edit the Wikipedia page. Somebody fix this.
That's
Yeah. I
how
mean,
I'll
that's
believe
crazy
it.
because that's like way too high a number of objects to just kind of like be swept under the rug even this many
Yeah.
years later. Like I don't know what the stats are on like what is the most valuable or like largest volume jewel heist or artifact
Art
heist or
heist.
heist of
Yeah.
any sort. Yeah, art heist of any sort. So but like 300 something seems like it's got to be up there
Yeah.
maybe
And
for like a single institution. It's one thing if like a whole city of multiple museums and stuff
yes,
maybe
but one over a
had that, but
4 year
one,
period, like
yeah, like
2005
that's
to
not a lot.
2009.
Yeah, it's like 75 pieces of art a year, if not more.
Yeah. And it's
That's a
like if
lot.
you're doing duplicates that went undiscovered, you also got to have a guy for that. You got to have people to fit. Like this is like
Yeah.
a large operation that, yeah, if it's an inside job, which most museum heists are inside jobs,
Hmm.
like is this like a government run museum? So people don't want that to come out and look bad about them. I
Yeah.
also don't know how media works in Turkey. Like, I have so many questions, including like who the fuck wrote this original blog post? Who is Daylight? How did this other
Who is
journalist like
Daylight?
who wrote it first? Was the blog post first and then the article somehow for some reason picked it up? Did the article write it in this blog post and they just cited each other?
Yeah.
I spent so much time trying to figure this shit out and I came to nothing because yeah, there was no like second good sources on it, which made me be like, this is fake? This has got to be fake.
Yeah. Is this
Anyways,
real?
that was
Yeah.
my
And
last
I'm
gift to you is that it's a conspiracy.
Thank you. And it's an art heist. It all comes together.
Hmm.
And I mean, with the way at least like paintings work. I mean, I don't know about what all sorts of forms of art
Yeah.
were stolen from this, but like it's all such a big like money allegedly money laundering scheme
Oh,
that like
yeah.
and like the chain of custody can be so hard to track that like
Yeah.
if people knew that those were stolen things or whatever, like, well, okay, if you uncover that and if you find out that an official government person was the one who stole it, like it's going to
Yeah.
have to be returned and the state's going to have to like pay for something for all of the
Yes.
trouble of that. So they're probably like,
Yeah.
it's better to just pretend this didn't happen because well, allegedly
Allegedly.
had to have been like the government at that time, whether it was military control, whomever, had
Yes.
to have known something about this. Like,
Yeah.
and
300
yeah,
things,
there, mm-hmm,
duplicates. Yeah, and I
yeah.
truly while I was trying to look this stuff up, I was like, am I stupid? Like, why can't I find like a
You're like, what am I
good
missing?
resource
Yeah,
on this? That's all I wanted was like one more at least actual article
like
and
legitimate.
also
Yeah,
like a follow-up story to be like what happened here. Also, that came out
yeah,
in 2014. There was a lot happening in 2014 within this
yes,
region. Um,
yes,
that was a little more intense than figuring out an art heist or
yes,
inside job type of thing. So I'm like, maybe that's just it died because there was a lot of turmoil happening in this part of the world
yeah,
in 2014.
yeah.
So I don't
Mm-hmm.
fucking know, is my conclusion.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you open a can of worms and then the worms
Yep.
come out and you got to see what they look like. And then you're like, oh, hey, our current president has that painting that went missing literally in his palace, dot, dot, dot.
Wait a
And then
second.
questions have to be answered.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I
So
need,
it's better to probably just like, meh, 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 meh. But yeah, who
yep.
knows?
But
Yeah.
also, I need a Turkish listener to look into this more for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or art
Was I just Googling
historians,
this
anyone who
wrong?
has the
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need a
That's
conspiracy theorist to look into this for me. I need an investigative journalist from Turkey to look into this for me. I
Yes,
know you're listening.
exactly. You're out
Find this
there,
for me.
probably. We maybe have some listeners in Turkey, probably. I gotta look at our
So,
map again. If we
someone
do,
comment on this with some
help.
info, please. I'm
Exactly.
so
Let us
desperate to
know.
know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was just a rant from me that I just needed to
Fascinating.
tell you about this rabbit hole that I went
Yeah.
down and can't kick myself
Mysterious.
out of.
This is what Penny was referring to when she said Turkey is mysterious.
Serious. Yes, she could see this in the
Unaccounted
future.
art heists. Yes.
Unfinished stories.
Yeah.
So,
Or
yes.
unfinished business. Dot, dot, dot. Penny's like,
Penny's
yeah,
the
I've
one
got to get back to
stealing
Turkey
it.
and get some
Finish
things
some
done in
work.
this mysterious country.
Penny is the mystery of this country.
Yeah. Penny is daylight.
Codename Daylight coming in.
Well, we just
Yeah,
cracked
yeah.
it. Cool.
Yeah, no need to comment anymore, anyone. We got it.
Hmm.
We got this. You know what? Investigative journalists call me for an interview. I'll tell you how
Oh,
we cracked
yeah.
this.
Grace just got the answer. Yeah,
We'll have you on. You can interview us on the podcast.
exactly.
So, yes, Gadget is freed from this. But outside, like I said, the birds flew away. And Penny, who's been outside the museum this whole time, just keeping an eye on things, says, I'm going to track these birds. And like I said, nobody knows Penny's here.
No, that's
So
right.
this 10-year-old girl simply runs off into the dark streets, because it's nighttime, of Istanbul under martial law
Yeah.
to
Great.
find some birds.
One of which is flying like 200 something miles per hour. She's like running after it. Slow down.
Come on. So, yeah. And it turns out it takes her all night to follow these birds because
Mm.
eventually she tracks them back to that tower from the beginning. And it's like daylight now. So
Oh, wow.
she was running those streets all. Actually, she was martial law that night.
She was, yeah. She made sure everyone stayed home safe.
Exactly. They were staying away from her that night. They thought another coup
Yeah.
was about to happen from
Yeah.
Penny. So,
You
yes,
see
she's
an
able
American running through the streets late at night of a foreign country, you can probably
to
bet.
fucking stay inside. You don't want to
Yeah.
be involved in this shit. And I agree. So,
Yes.
Penny is able to track the birds, yes, to the tower. And she calls Brain at this point and tells him like the location that Brain needs to somehow get Gadget there in order to get the sapphire back. And so, speaking of the tower, because she now sees, yes, the birds fly into the tower itself. There's like one single window at the very top of it. We head inside with these birds and we see Finch giving Claw the sapphire. And Claw laughs, saying, "With your birds and my brains, I'll soon be the richest man on earth."
Okay.
And now we come to something that we've speculated about before on this show. What is the org chart at MAD?
Yeah. Who's in charge here?
Because I think we were right when we said that he just like hires out contractors for every job and that everyone is expendable. Claw works alone, which is why he has so
Yes.
much trouble opening up to Gadget. You know, he's a lone wolf situation.
Exactly. Too
But
introverted.
yes, but I think this because Finch, the unraveling begins because this idiot says he basically wants to be in on Claw's one-man show. After Claw says this, Icarus Finch looks angry and says, "You? But what about me?" Basically,
Uh-oh.
yeah, he wants a
Trouble
partnership
in
here,
paradise.
a tit for tat, a quid pro quo, if you will. He wants to
Yeah.
not just be the brains behind the birds, he wants to share in these riches,
Yes. Which
which
you
is a
should.
huge mistake, though. Huge mistake.
Yeah.
He
True.
does not know the record of Claw, which is if you are my lackey, you are also the scapegoat for this, and you will be arrested at some point, and
Yeah.
I will get away
We'll
fine. I
go
don't
free.
work with others.
Yes.
I hire others and then
Hmm.
fire
I
others.
direct others. Yeah.
Exactly. But Claw, instead of just killing him, I guess, pauses and then says, which this is far more terrifying than an outright threat. He says, "Yes, of course. You'll be my full partner." Yes, which again, warlord agreeing with you is actually not what you want at
Yeah,
all.
you don't want to hear that. Mm-mm.
And he basically goes on to tell Icarus Finch that, like, yes, you'll totally be my partner. And, like, I totally mean it. And I'll prove it to you of, like, how much I trust you as my partner. I will give you, Icarus Finch, the responsibility, nay, the honor, the
Honor.
privilege
Mm.
to now smuggle out Turkey's most prized possession, the world's most valuable sapphire that the entire Turkish government is now trying to find. I will give you the honor to smuggle it out of the country, not for me,
Mm.
Icarus, but for us.
For us. Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, Finch does not understand that basically Claw is like, "Yeah, why don't you go ahead and risk everything trying to get this out of the country and you definitely get arrested and then I'll take the gem and skedaddle on out of here as you are
Exactly.
now tortured probably to get the information about where the most expensive sapphire in the world has gone."
Yes.
But Icarus Finch is like, "Hell yeah, I'll do that." And
Oh
so
my
he takes
God.
the sapphire back and goes to start his prep to get it smuggled out of here.
He must be new here.
He
He
literally only hangs out with birds.
Yeah.
This is his first human
Aw.
contact in
Which isn't
years.
a horrible thing, Grace.
But we can see what it does to you. He only
You
has
know.
a raven. Yeah. He only has a raven yes ending him because the raven just repeats back anything that Icarus
Exactly that
says.
he says. Yeah.
So he thinks he's always right, I guess.
Incredible.
But back outside, Penny is able to find a secret entrance and she starts snooping around this tower and unfortunately runs right into Icarus Finch, who
Hmm.
immediately grabs Penny and puts her in a human-sized bird cage that is dangling
Mm.
above a giant, like, classically in the tower, like the center of it is just
Yeah.
all the way up to the
Fire?
top. Yep,
Or
and
oh no.
or yeah, it's like just super high in the center, and like all
Oh,
the rooms
okay.
are on the outside.
I always expect a pit of fire or
Yeah, it
something.
was
I
probably
don't
down
know.
there at
Maybe.
some
Who
point.
knows? Yeah,
He just
either way,
hasn't
it's gonna
gotten to
suck
it yet.
falling from that. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, now Penny is in
Hmm.
a giant human-sized bird cage dangling above many stories that would end
Mm.
in her death if she fell. And
Mm.
Icarus Finch is basically like, well, you live here now, so good luck with this. I'm leaving. Bye. And just leaves her.
Oh.
So I guess she's literally just gonna starve to death in this birdcage. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's
Nope,
like, you're
he isn't
not
nowhere.
actually a bird, so I don't know how to take care of
Ah,
you.
nor do I
So
care
do I
about you.
care to take care of you?
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. So,
Ugh.
he leaves her there.
Great.
But thank goodness, Brain reaches the tower at this point. He tricked Gadget into following him by basically like playing up the I'm a mad agent. Ooh, don't you want to catch me? Type of thing to
Mm,
Gadget, who
mm, mm,
completely
mm.
hook, line, sinker bought it. And so, yes, Brain reaches the tower first with Gadget not close behind. And at the base of the tower, there's like a couple bags, like giant canvas bags.
Mhm.
And Brain, who Penny had like in the bird cage, also called him and been like, watch out for the birds here, buddy. They are up to no
Yeah.
good. And so as Brain runs up to the base of the tower near these bags, he sees one of the birds, either the falcon or the condor, fly down from the window. And so Brain, thinking quickly, is like, oh
Mm.
shit, that bird's going to attack me. And jumps
Yeah.
into one of the bags. And that is the cell animation that was sent to us.
Oh,
Is
awesome.
Brain, yes, still in like his outfit, again, like the vest and the imama, or however you say it, the like turban,
Yeah.
opening
Hmm.
up the bag, like about to jump into it. So that is one of the cells
Okay,
that
yeah.
we got.
Now I remember. Out of
Yep.
context, I was like, I have no clue what
What
Brain's
the
doing
fuck
in
is
this
Brain up
picture,
to
but it's
here?
awesome. It's the
Yep.
original cell. That's
Yep.
cool.
So that's one of the cells from it.
Context helps a little bit. I don't
Only a
know.
little.
I mean, it's still Inspector Gadget after all.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
lots
Yeah.
of
So
confusion and
what can we
open-ended
do here?
questions here.
And I've gone on a lot of tangents this episode. So good luck
Like you've done
following
your
everyone.
best to put more context to it, and it's still just Inspector Gadget.
I'm doing my best
I
here, everyone.
applaud you, but
Try my just darndest.
yes.
So yes, Brain jumps into the bag and the bird flies down and actually picks up the bag with its talons and flies it back into the tower. So I mean, Brain gets a free ride into the
Cool.
tower at this point.
Yeah.
And as Brain gets flown in there and the bag gets put down, which we find out it's just like bags of grain. So this was like the bird feed, basically. As this happened, Gadget rolls up. And Icarus, Finch, and the other birds see Gadget arrive. They all lean out the window at the top of the tower to see him. And they know that they got to shut this shit down before Gadget can get in and steal the sapphire back. And as they're distracted, Brain is able to sneak out of the grain bag and he's able to find Penny and free her. So Penny is fine and they are now both free.
Okay. Good.
And so from the window, Icarus is now starting to send his birds one by one to attack Gadget. So the
Hmm.
first line of attack is the Andean condor, who comes down from the sky and picks up a giant boulder in its talons to drop right on Gadget's head.
Mm.
And somehow Gadget is indeed able to like evade this and like stumble out of the way. It's not obviously on purpose that he gets out of this. He just like trips. But as he
Yeah.
trips, he sees the condor and goes, "Egads, a pterodactyl."
Oh, good Lord. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Goes like it's like what we said earlier, though. I mean,
He
hey,
saw this shit.
before if you had a primitive mind and you saw that
Yeah.
thing, you
Much like
would
Gadget. If you had half a
much like
brain, much like
Gadget.
Gadget, you might think this is a pterodactyl.
Before access to technology, even though he is all technology, he does still have a primitive brain,
Yeah,
what's
here we
left
are.
of it.
And
And
yet, here
thus
we
he
are.
sees a monster in the sky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. But while Gadget is looking up about to see where this pterodactyl went, he sees Icarus Finch looking out the window. And Gadget is
Mhm.
like, "Oh, thank God. Someone here can give me directions." So Gadget gets his little propeller hat on, or propellers pop out of his hat, and he starts to fly up to the window. But he doesn't get there before he gets dive bombed by, yes, the peregrine
Nice.
falcon, which you noted
Awesome.
earlier that they dive bomb. It is indeed how they hunt. However, this falcon is going so damn fast, and of course, Gadget's like steering of his like propeller is a hot mess. So the
Hmm.
like falcon is having to like go every which way. He's going so fast that he literally catches fire. The bird catches fire, like
Oh,
his tail feathers set on
oh
fire
wow.
because he's going so fast. And Gadget just like scooches out of the way and is absolutely amazed by the phoenix he just saw in the sky.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Oh, gadget,
yes.
gadget, gadget.
Gadget, gadget,
Okay. All
gadget.
right.
So at
Mm-hmm.
this point, Gadget is pretty close to the window. So Finch and the Raven are like, "Well, we gotta skedaddle right on out of here, and we gotta get the Sapphire out of here. Fuck this Gadget guy. We out." And so they close the window, which has like a wooden shutter for it. But
Mm-hmm.
as Gadget gets up to the wooden shutter, our dear hummingbird, our sword-billed hummingbird, had come out of the window and was waiting for Gadget to, yes, dive bomb him and try and stab him right in the throat with that sword coming in handy. But
Yes.
Gadget,
That is what
again,
I've been waiting for the whole
yes, the
episode.
sword. Yeah, the
Yeah.
hummingbird's like, "Yeah, I can do a lot, but yes, I also use my sword bill as a
But
sword. You
yes, let
are
me use my
correct."
sword.
Yes, but let me
Fine.
fucking use it. It is pretty helpful. Okay, God. And so, yes, it tries to attack Gadget, but right as it's going in for the kill shot, Gadget opens up that wooden shutter and the hummingbird flies right into it, stabbing its
Mm.
beak and getting stuck right into the
Aw.
shutter. And Gadget hears the thud and like looks at the other side of the shutter and is like, "Oh, a woodpecker." And then he does the knockoff, not copyright infringement version of the Woody the Woodpecker noise,
Oh, cool.
which I feel like we shouldn't do because I feel like that is copyright and I'm
Yeah,
scared to get
maybe.
sued by it. I don't know. It seems
Eh.
dicey. Anyways, Gadget does that and
Better
just goes
safe than
ahead.
sorry.
Exactly. And goes ahead and just crawls right into the tower. And
Mm.
hearing this chaos slash seeing now Gadget crawling through, Penny and Brain, who have now made it outside of the tower, do call Chief Quimby to bring in reinforcements.
Okay.
Again, probably using a good old voice distorter, et
Yeah.
cetera, because no one can know Penny's here. But Gadget is searching the rooms and makes his way to the very top of the tower, like the top room right underneath the roof, where he busts in to find what I can only describe as perhaps a dressing room.
Oh God. Oh
We see a
no.
big vanity. We see Icarus Finch turn around and go, "Ah!" As
Puts a towel
Gadget,
over himself. Oh no.
well, he is in the middle of changing. He's in the middle of changing into his totally normal, totally sane,
Hmm.
totally not unraveled, totally not conspicuous escape plan disguise, his ultimate
Hmm.
form, who he truly thinks he is. He has on a like maroon. Don't forget, he has a very protruding face. This
That's right. I did
maroon,
forget.
but only covering like his nose and top of his head, like bird helmet, mask, and a pair of tattered, ripped, torn, yet like steampunk put together pair of
Okay.
wings. For
Oh
he
boy.
is now a bird himself who
Uh-huh.
believes.
As you say, as long as he tells himself that, then that is what he will believe.
Yes. And he has the
Okay.
sapphire. He was planning to fly the sapphire out of the country in
Mm,
this fashion.
suit. In this
The
country
suit.
that is under martial
Martial
law,
law.
probably has
Watching
very
the
close eyes on the
skies.
airspace.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And Finch, this man who we now have to trust to fly, tries to run, but trips in the process and
Oh,
drops the sapphire.
well, you know what they say, before you learn to fly, you gotta learn to trip.
Yeah.
No, he's
And
doing great.
he's doing fine.
Fine. He's fine,
And
I promise.
at this point, I think Icarus is only thinking of the skies, like Icarus does, because he just runs right up the ladder that is in this dressing room and to the roof. Gadget sees the sapphire and says, "Oh, hey, they used to have one of these in a museum just like
Oh,
this."
fuck. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah.
And he is like, "Sir, you dropped your gemstone." And so then he runs up to the roof after him. But by the time he gets up there, Finch is standing on the edge of the roof. And like
Yeah.
very darkly, Gadget is like, "No!" As if he thinks he's
He's
about to
gonna
jump
jump.
off and unalive himself or something like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, God.
Because right as Gadget shoots his like go-go Gadget arms out to grab this man from dying, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finch, we now see his plan was a little better than we thought. A jetpack shoots out of the wings.
Oh, good. See, even he knew like these wings are fucking terrible.
This is
He's like, I will
not
not end up
gonna
like
work.
Icarus. My wings will not be singed by the flame.
But
Actually, they are by his jetpack. Oh
he
no, sorry,
didn't
go ahead.
count on one thing. On
Uh-huh.
the father, perhaps the guardian, legal guardian of daylight, the sun,
This is
Gadget.
great. It's all coming together. Oh no. Oh no.
To grab his jetpack and
Uh,
absolutely fuck it up so that Icarus Finch falls off the tower. No jetpack.
oh.
Wings absolutely crushed. Falling,
Uh,
falling, falling. As we knew
mm,
would happen with someone named Icarus.
who flew
But
too close to the sun, aka stood too close to the ledge, and a bumbling inspector idiot.
he had such a good plan. All he wanted to do was work with Dr. Claw and be a bird. Is that so much to
Yeah,
ask?
it's really not.
It's
Just
really
unfortunate it
not.
had to end this way for him. He had it all figured out, or so
He
he
had it
thought.
all in the palm of his talons, in
Those
the grip of
bony
his
talons.
talons.
Yes.
But luckily for Icarus, he falls right into the police van that Chief Quimby
Mm,
and the crew had driven up. We do
good.
see the falcon, the hummingbird, and the condor under arrest also in the police van.
Are they in like little cages?
No, I think they have
Okay,
like
good.
little cuffs on, like their
Okay,
little
that's what I was.
talons.
Okay. You know, I
I
wonder
think. At
though.
least I liked they
Okay.
did because it's
Yeah, we'll
funnier.
pretend at least
Yes,
it would fit the bill of this show.
exactly.
So yeah.
I will say Raven who we soon
Hmm.
see land on Gadget's shoulders, is like, nothing to see here. I think
Oh,
Raven is the Dr. Claw of the bird world who let his
yes.
lackeys take the
Take the
fall.
fall. Hmm.
And I will say, Finch at this point, like Gadget makes his way down out of the tower. Icarus Finch, as we've seen in other episodes, looks out at the police van and starts begging the guards to take him to prison to, quote, get me away from that maniac. Because as far as he knows, Gadget just tried to kill him. Like
Yeah, right.
Gadget just
Yeah,
made him fall off of this
exactly.
tower to die.
Yes. Yeah.
And Quimby, yes, is there with all the cops. They drive uh, Icarus Finch away. Of course, Dr.
Hmm.
Claw is able to jet out of here.
Yes.
Quimby sees Gadget holding the sapphire. I think that Raven was still going to try and take it. And Quimby is like,
It's
good
probably really
job,
what's up.
Gadget. Who now Gadget finally realizes what the gem was, what the sapphire was. And Brain and Penny walk up, and Gadget is like, oh, Penny, Brain. Thanks, Chief Quimby, for bringing these two to Turkey to see me. That's that's the end
That's the end.
of this unhinged episode.
Wow. Oh, where to begin? Great job. That's where we began. That was
Thank
great.
you.
You,
It's really
like I
went
said,
places
it went a lot of
from
places, many
history.
places, one of which was Istanbul, but that was so yeah, the
Yeah,
whole
good
Raven
questions.
thing. My theory is just that like the smartest one always gets away, you know? But I
Hey,
agree, you're right. It probably saw that he still had this that Gadget still had the sapphire and was like, okay, let me just like hop on over here and
yeah, I'll
try to
find a
steal this
buyer.
thing from him because it's kind of crazy actually to find a buyer. Kind of crazy that Chief Quimby could ID the other three birds as like co-conspirators, but
Well,
not the Raven because the Raven's always
Penny,
behind the scenes.
maybe because Penny saw the other three attack him, but Penny had seen the
Mm,
Raven. I don't know,
yeah.
maybe Penny sees that Raven just now and is like, anime eyes at it, and the Raven
Yeah.
books it out of there in that moment.
Gets out of there. Exactly.
Yeah.
Instant feud.
Yeah, I say
Yeah.
instant grudge between the two of
Exactly.
them.
The
Penny
Raven
better
knows.
watch
Oh,
her
we're gonna
back.
see that Raven again because that grudge that
He's
grudge
letting
is
them other
being
Ravens
held, let me
know.
tell you.
Yep.
Yes.
Any little blonde girls with pigtails and bangs, take them down.
Getting attacked.
Yep.
Exactly. Wow. Great
So
job. Great
thank
job.
you.
I learned so much during this episode. I feel like I have a whole bunch of research to do
It
now.
really took me so many places that I just like, I had to just let myself, just
Go
let Jesus
there.
take the wheel.
Yeah, and he did. And he took you to Istanbul, to the Andes, to wherever the
To
hummingbirds
a
live again. I forget.
museum,
Yeah, to a museum,
to
to
a room
unsolved
filled with red
conspiracy theories.
string.
Exactly.
Yep.
Jesus
It
took the
was
wheel.
all places
Thank
I
you.
wanted to be, frankly.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah.
we went
Took you
together.
to your happy places. Yeah.
Yeah,
The good place. He
it's
took you
all
to
I have
Jesus, took you to
anymore.
the good place.
A good place. Thanks
Yikes.
for joining me on this
Anyways.
journey.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So,
yes. Next week, Alexis will have our final, for now, Inspector Gadget episode.
for now.
And between now and next week, Alexis, who, oh, who should our listeners and viewers tell about this episode?
This week you should tell a God, there's so many options. I'm trying to think of the least offensive one. No, this
Good
week
luck.
you should tell a someone who works at like a bird
Damn
sanctuary
it.
of
That
some
was gonna be
sort. Is
mine.
that gonna be
Yeah.
yours? Yeah,
We have a
sorry, should
really
have
good
gone
one
with one
near
of
my
my other ones.
house.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's a good one.
Oh,
That's a good one.
that's all right, cool, cool. Well, it'll be
Yes.
easy for you to tell someone this week then,
Yes,
because
at the Cascades
although
Raptor Center.
I don't know if there's a sanctuary near me. Probably not. I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
whatever. That's another tangent for another day. Who should they tell, Grace?
After that, I think you should tell someone who was born in the 80s.
Okay.
This was came out in 83.
Yeah.
There was a coup in 80. We talked a lot about history in the
Hmm.
80s. So tell someone who's born in
Hmm.
the 80s. They'll probably love this show. They grew up watching this show, especially.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. So, and a lot of the other shows we cover. So there you go.
Yeah, let them know. And beyond that, we'll see y'all next week.
Then.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.